The August bank holiday weekend brings a feast of music to West London as Notting Hill Carnival marks its 56th year. The celebration of Caribbean culture runs over 3 days, with musical styles from soca to dancehall and so much more for over 2 million expected revellers. The Standard podcast is joined by sound system pioneer and Notting Hill Carnival director Linnet Kamala, whose Lincam Art Sound System Futures programme is helping develop the next generation of live music experts, from DJs to sound engineers. When we spoke, Linnet was in Powys Square, putting the finishing touches to her dubstep-focused collaboration with Trojan 7 sound system. And aged 15, Linnet was one of the first female DJs to perform at Notting Hill Carnival in 1985.
I'm a child of Jamaican parents who both settled in the Notting Hill area in the late 1950s. My dad was a musician and my mother was a teacher later on. And so I was always around music, and I came to my very first Notting Hill Carnival probably when I was around maybe 5 years old. I was being carried on my father's shoulders. I've never forgotten really the kind of impact of just seeing that area, the local area, with so many people and sounds and smells and all of that. So that would have been the early 1970s, probably around about 1975. Then 1985, I became the first girl at the time to DJ at the carnival at a sound system. So there was a bit of a fuss because there was like loads of people taking pictures. I have to remember the context back then. The world was a bit different and there wasn't many females around doing that. So that's why I guess it was a bit of a novelty. I didn't think much of it, to be honest. I was just focusing on entertaining the crowd.
Could you paint us a picture of where you are right now?
Yeah, so I am currently on the street called Powys Square, which is right in the heart of Notting Hill Carnival footprint. So I'm currently beside my Portaloos, which I've had to get here super early because I've literally got a phone call to say we're 10 minutes away. And I luckily I live quite locally, so I rushed back down here. So I had to wrap them up because unfortunately things get tagged over. And then, we've got lots of deliveries. So currently there's cars on the street, but they'll all be gone. It's quite sleepy at the moment. So either people have gone to work or there's a couple of people walking about. There's lots of fencing that's up and everyone's just kind of getting ready. There's parking restrictions in place. It's a bit windy, but the main thing is we hope it remains dry.
Your static sound system, could you describe what it looks like?
Yeah, so this year I will be joining up. I'm with a sound system called Trojan 7, and they're going to be with myself, Lincam Art. So we will have two beautiful, custom, hand-built, authentic sound systems. And for your listeners, this is something that was originated, kind of created by Jamaicans, but it's gone on to have a global influence. So with our sound, Trojan 7, for example, they have these beautiful stacks, which each one has been named after either a family member or someone significant. And so there's been nothing like it. They're very unique. They're going to sound incredible. And then the Lincam Art, sort of like two towers almost. I'm working with some amazing next generation. So on the street, anyone that wants to see who's next, in terms of those making their debut, their first times ever being at Carnival as DJs. And also, most importantly, they're not just DJs. These young people, they're going to be with me. We're starting early, super early. The older ones, we're going from like 5 a.m, 7 o'clock in the morning of Carnival. This is a bit that a lot of people don't really realise, or it's a bit that perhaps I'm concerned that might be dying out with the culture, because there's always this emphasis on, the DJ as the star, and that's quite alien to sound system culture. We're a team, family, collective effort, and it's not like one person stand out. The sound engineer is everything, right? We've literally, they are the ones, if the music stops, well, who's going to be looking after that? Everyone turns to the sound engineer, not the DJ.
What's your view on the future of Notting Hill Carnival, and how do you see the event evolving in the decades ahead?
One of the things I do with the Sound System Futures, these young people, the first session is we teach them about the history of this event. I myself, as an adult, I was coming here decades. I actually did not know the true reason why this event was even happening, because it's not something that sadly is taught in schools, and it should be. It should be. It's significant because a man called Keslow Coltrane, who came from Antigua, so was part of this group of people who were invited over to this country by the British government from the Caribbean to help to rebuild this country after Second World War. And some people will remember that round here, I still remember in the 1980s, there was still rubble, actually, in some of the streets in London from the 1940s when the bombs had hit. So things like the National Health Service, all of this was built up by this group of people who at the time, as I said, were considered to be British citizens as well. And sadly, he was attacked. It was a racist murder. He lost his life and the community was devastated because there had been so much tensions between back then, I guess people were saying like black and white, but it was literally, that's what was happening. People were being attacked in the streets based on the colour of their skin. People were not able to rent fairly because of the colour of their skin. There were literally signs up in the windows that said no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. That's what it was like back then. So all the turbulence, things like the Race Relations Act was born out of this. And it took someone like Ronnie Laslett, the woman that brought the community together and said, we need to find a way forward. And so I think once we know that history, and Ronnie Laslett was the lady that said, let's use culture, affair, costume, joy, children, adults, people from all nationalities, everyone coming together in unity and peacefully and love. That was the vision. It started off as a small fair and it's grown to what we see today, to 1.5 to 2 million people. So as long as everyone remembers, that's why we're on the streets. There were thousands that lined Ladbroke Grove and the surrounding streets mourning Kreslow's at the funeral. It was so tragic. That was in 1959. And so that's why we're on the streets of Notting Hill. That's why it's here every single year. And that's why the future is it will stay here. It needs to stay here.
Finally, for this weekend, any top tips for people to make the most of their carnival visit?
I would just say to people, just try to choose one element, okay? So decide if you're going to be following a float or if you're going to go to, some people might be going to Panorama, which is the steel pans, or you're going to go to a sound system or one of the stages. Just choose one. Don't try and do it all. That would be my advice, particularly on the Monday, it gets busy. But Sunday is a lovely day. So I think if you're newbie to Carnival, come on Sunday. And why don't you perhaps leave a bit early? We start from about 10:30ish. The sound systems start from 12. And you can have a great day, it's Children's Day as well. So, and then you can maybe set off, start heading back home by about 4 o'clock. That would be my advice. So you'll have a great time.